So then from there, we go back into our third set of that march. So since it is a new video, I have to do the spiel again. Welcome to Fitness with Familiar Faces, brought to you by the city of Vancouver, just to get you moving during this time. If you haven't seen the PARQ Plus form, you can look and fill that out online just to make sure everything is okay with exercise. So that first exercise we did was the march, level 1, level 2. If there's any shoulder injuries, stay here, but I show you level 3 now, and that's the reaching. Works a little bit more on balance, can help prevent symptoms of frozen shoulder or stiffness reaching up high or behind the back. And it's any variation that works for you. That's the march. The next one we did was the taps. So seeing if you can tap out. Level 1, just the legs, especially if the shoulders are sore. Level 2, same arm, same leg. Level 3 is just doing opposite arm, opposite leg. But marching is a good way to warm up at home before any strenuous activity you might do outside. And it's just to get you moving a little bit more than just sitting down on the computer or the couch or the car. Yeah. Then we go into the bend. So those feet planted, hands come on the hips, and seeing if you can bend and come back. Feeling that stretch in the back of the legs, your hamstring muscles. Level 1, legs straight. Level 2 is your full bend. As long as you feel that in the back of the legs, not in the low back or in the knees, then you're okay. Yeah. And then last one. Perfect. From there you come back into the middle, back into that marching pattern. Going for posture muscles now. Seeing if you can try a palm up and palm down. So this is good for people that have more rounded shoulders. People that like the last exercise, symptoms of frozen shoulder or discomfort reaching up high or behind the back. Palm up, palm down helps to stretch your shoulder blade muscles or the muscles in the back of your shoulder. You'll feel the stretch in your front shoulder chest, palm up, palm down, and tightness along the side of the shoulders. Yeah. Perfect. From there, you're going to change that into a tap. So a front tap. So I'm showing level 1 here, seeing if you can add that push and tap. Whenever you tap in front, you're using your thigh muscles or quad muscles. Those are the same muscles used as climbing stairs or getting up from a chair. That would be your front tap. Yeah. Perfect. So then the next one that we go into is a back tap. If you have a chair, then the safest way is to use the chair in front of you. And all you're going to do is tap back and back. That's level 1. Tapping and tapping. This is good for your hamstring and your glute. So people that have, or hip. So people that have hip stiffness or low back stiffness, it's good to train your hips moving backwards and to the sides. That's called a back tap. And I will show different variations for each as well. Yeah. And then we repeat that sequence. So from there, you going back into that marching pattern. We go into our second set of palm up, palm down. Level 1. If If it feels comfortable, stay there. Level 2, elbows bent, and you rotate back and forth. Elbows are close to the ribs, and you should feel this along the side of the shoulders as you open up. But if there's any pain or discomfort, stick with option 1, palm up, palm down. But this is so it's easier for you to carry groceries, carry your grandchildren, or carry things in front of you. Yeah. And then release. The third one we did. So now you're gonna do one leg at a time. So we'll start with the right, where you tap back and forth. Option 1. Option 2, there is no tapping. That's called a back raise. That's a little bit harder for balance, and you'll feel more along your hip and your hamstring. So now try your other side. So you look the other way. Option 1, tapping the toes behind you for hip and low back. But it should be felt mostly in the hip and leg. Option 2, just the raise. I'm not tapping, I'm just raising. Sometimes people do this and their back arches, and that causes pain. So you don't need to go as far where your back arches. You stop before that and you just focus on the hip. If you're feeling that there's an arch, you've gone too far. Yeah. And then release. So this is your second break now. If you need to grab water, but I'm gonna mute you all. Okay, can everyone still see me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grab some water if you need, but does anyone have questions about these exercises? Oh yes.
When you tap, you're tapping with your toe, correct?
With my toes, yeah.
Yes. And so on that last one.
So we went back into your marching pattern. Option 1 is your palm up, palm down. If there's any difficulty reaching behind the back. Option 2 is your rotation. And again, with the marching, you can make it easier or harder. You can just do regular march. You can do high marches if balance is one of the things you want to improve. Up to you, whatever feels comfortable for you. Palm up, palm down, or rotation. But from there, those arms come down. You try your bending exercise. So feet planted, hands come on the hips, and it's that bend. Level 1, level 2. Any variation that works for you. But if there is stiffness in the back, pain in the hips when you lift things from the ground, then this exercise is a good place to start to make those muscles less sensitive. Good for gardening, good for if you're going bike riding. Great. Then we go into your back taps. So you have that chair for support, tapping the toe. We're gonna stick with one leg at a time for now. So choose right or left. Option 1. Option 2, where it's a raise. But like Shirley was saying, you're gonna feel it a little bit on the other leg because it's balanced. I show you option 3 now, hardest one, an airplane. You would have some chair there for support. You would feel that on the hip of the opposite muscle. That's level 3. But now see if you can switch foot. So you go to your other side. Tapping, level 1. Raise, level 2. Trying to prevent back from bending or curving. And level 3, is your airplane. The hardest variation challenges the most balance. And then last one. Perfect. So from there, we're gonna see if we can use the chair now as a prop. So 3 new exercises, some stretches, and some strengthening for the hips. So we're gonna start you off with the chair in the seated position. So a few stretches on the chair. The first one we're gonna do is to help strengthen the low back muscles and stretch the abs. So for this one, the arms come crossed, stomach muscles pulled in, and you're trying to extend. So my chest goes up. So from the side view, up and back to neutral. Up and back to neutral. Breathing out when you extend, breathing in when you return. And this one you should feel in your low back muscles. Sometimes people have difficulty getting up from chair or bed. This is to strengthen low back, seated extension. And then you release. Perfect. The next one we try is your hip or glute stretch. Level 1 is just crossing a leg. That bottom leg is straight. Feeling a stretch on the outside of the hip. Option 2, adding that bend for your glute or hip muscle. That bottom knee is bent 90 degrees. Feeling that in the hip. No pain in the knee or low back. If there is, try level 1. Level 3 is adding your bend forward, but seeing if you can switch sides now. Level 1, level 2, or level 3. Hip stretches we're doing because we did a lot of bending today. We did some of those toe taps, or if you don't tap, it becomes more of a balance exercise. And all of those use your hip muscles. Perfect. From there, that leg comes on down. The next one we're going to do is with the chair, but for this one, you're gonna go into a bit of a standing position. We're gonna practice a squat here. So you have the chair for support, different levels. Level 1, you pretend to sit down and you come up tall. You pretend to sit down and come up tall. Level 1. Level 2, you wanna reach the chair and come up. Touch the chair and come up. So any variation that works for you. But when you do the squat, you want to make sure that your hips move first. Your toes, your knees are behind your toes. And instead of looking down, you're looking ahead. A squat. To help you get up from chair, give you more endurance walking up hills. And you're good there. And finally, the third exercise. You have 2 options. You can do your runner stretch, feeling a stretch on the top of the hip, standing, or you can use your chair where you go into this position. So if your hips are feeling a little bit sore after our session so far, this would be a better option. Top of the hip going down to the knee. Or you can do your standing version. We hold each stretch about 15 seconds. So that leg comes back up, and then you switch sides. Either chair, top of the hip to the knee, nice tall position, or standing, front leg bent, back leg straight. This one's more useful if you're already going for like hour-long walks in your routine, then this is a stretch you can do anywhere. If you find that your muscles are sore after this session, then the seated version will help relax and stretch out the muscles we used for marching and getting up and down from chair. We got one more set to do of these exercises. So you're good there? All right, any comments, questions?
Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah, when we do the airplane,
Yeah.
and then we move back the leg, do we touch ground before we do another round?
Yes. Every time you do the airplane, you want to touch the ground. So I call it reset. You reset.
Okay.
So you're here, airplane, plant the feet again. Airplane and plant the feet.
I see.
At least for this session.
Thank you.
And that's helping with balance, being able to balance and then plant the foot again. Balance and plant the foot. Any other questions so far? So we got one more round of these chair exercises. If things are starting to feel sore, you can have a seat. It's okay. We're almost done the class. But we'll do one more round starting with your glute stretch or hip stretch. So we go into that seated position. Option one, that leg straight, and you go into that cross or that bend, feeling your stretch in your glute muscle. Level two, that knee bent, more intense. And level three is adding a bend forward, the strongest pull. But you're doing glute stretches because we did balance, side to side, and backward marching. All use hip muscles. If you walk where there are hills, you're also gonna use more glute or hip muscles. That leg slides down and you switch sides. Level one, level two, or level three. If you are doing gardening outside your home or chores around the house like cleaning, bending also uses glute muscles. So this would be a stretch to try either before or after your activity if you find that your hips are getting a little too sore after your session. Good. That foot comes down. When you're ready, you go into your squat. So you have the chair there for support. Different levels. Just aiming for the chair, feeling that in your quad, hamstring, and glutes. Good option if low backs may be a little bit more stiff these days. Option two is touching the chair and coming up. Harder because you have to reach further. But if you're trying to improve your endurance with walking, like more than 45 minutes, or stairs are a big problem for you, then squatting lower, as long as there's no back or knee pain, is a good option. And then last one. Perfect. And then we go into your runner stretch. So either standing, top of the hip going down to the knee, feeling it in the calf, hip flexor, and your back heel is down. Or you can use the chair. So you'll see how my toes are digging into the ground. So I'm tall and feeling a stretch from the top of the hip to the knee. But this hip flexor stretch, standing or seated, can be used every day, because we use these muscles when walking, getting up chairs, and sitting. And then you switch sides. Top of the hip going down, or you can stay in your standing position. Front leg bent, back leg straight. So if you bicycle a lot, if you do a lot of like crouching in the day, maybe you're doing spring cleaning, you'll have tighter front hip muscles. They can be a little bit uncomfortable if they're tight, or they pull on the low back. So this hip flexor stretch is a good one to try throughout your day. And then from there you release. So grab some water if you need to. I'm just going to give you a few points to end the session today.